presents After Church with Tink McLeod, featuring the coolest of cool people and very special guests. And here's your host, Tink McLeod.
Good evening and welcome back to After Church. My name is Tink McLeod and I am your host. For those of you watching for the first time, After Church is just a variety show for Christians, basically a talk show. The theme of tonight is business and kingdom. We're gonna hear from a bunch of people who have started businesses, and our special guest tonight is Isaac Meek, the owner of Five Daughters Bakery. So we've heard so many times in the church world, whatever you do, do it unto the Lord. We're gonna talk about business or entrepreneurship, starting something new that might not necessarily be ministry, but it's starting something with the Lord. We'll be featuring some other small businesses tonight, like Ordinary People, Revival Republic, and I'm also gonna feature a friend of mine named Josh Carter, who is a producer and a musician out in Houston, Texas. This isn't gonna be the first time that we do this themed episode. I hope to highlight other small businesses and business owners in the future. So I hope that tonight inspires you. Maybe there's a dream in your heart that you've wanted to start. I'm a poet and I don't know it, but maybe there is a dream in your heart and you've always wanted to start something, or you want to feel inspired. And so I hope tonight kind of awakens that for you and inspires you and gives you some key tools that you can use to hopefully start whatever you want to start one day.
Hi, my name is Ilana and my business is Ordinary People Label. We design products for ordinary people who want to make a difference in the lives of others by creating ethical products and donating 50% profits to those who need help most. In 2016, I started getting prompted by God to use my skills in a way that I can make a difference in the lives of others. That December, the war on Aleppo raged and my heart was completely shattered seeing the destruction and innocent lives caught in the middle. And that's where the charity Preemptive Love was highlighted to me. I wanted to make a difference, but I just didn't feel like what I had to offer would actually make a difference. After all, I'm only an ordinary girl. I'm not a CEO. I don't make millions. I don't have a crazy amount of influence. But it was during this season that I was struck by the quote by Edward Everett Hale. I am only one, but still I am one. I cannot do everything, but still I can do something. I was pursued by God's plans for me to do something ordinary and change the world doing it. I sat on this idea for years after God actually dropped it in my spirit. I needed to know that it was Him and not me, because I have a tendency to start a lot of projects and leave them incomplete when I lose passion for it or it becomes too time consuming. And I didn't want this to be just another project. For me to get started, I needed a lot of motivation and drive. I am a graphic designer by trade, not a businesswoman. I'm also an extreme procrastinator, so can find a million excuses why I don't need to do something. For me, the battle getting started was overcoming the thoughts in my head. And to do that, I needed my close community that I could be vulnerable with and share my dreams with, so that we can bounce off each other and they could keep me accountable and encourage me to step out as well. My encouragement to you starting a dream or a business is don't doubt your ability. Ultimately, you don't have the skills for the dreams that God and the plans that God has for you. He is the one that does it.
Alright, so tonight our special guest is Isaac Meek. Isaac is the founder and owner of Five Daughters Bakery. Isaac and his wife Stephanie started the bakery in 2015 and saw tremendous success within the first year of opening. He's not only an amazing entrepreneur and leader, but he's also the father of five daughters to be exact. Please welcome Isaac Meek. Isaac, welcome to After Church.
Thank you for having me.
This setting feels familiar. I've been here before.
This is my house.
This is your house. This is my brother-in-law, by the way. But he is also an amazing businessman. You are the owner of $5 Bakery.
I'm one of the owners, along with your sister.
Along with my sister.
And a couple other friends. But yeah.
Well, how about we do some rapid questions really quick? All right, ready?
Yes.
Favorite band?
Radiohead.
Favorite thing to bake?
Biscuits.
Are you an introvert or extrovert?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Favorite TV show?
Arrested Development, or The Good Place, or The Simpsons.
What was your first job?
Well, my first job was going door to door for a water, in-home water filtration company, and I would ask people if they wanted to have somebody come to their house talk about water filtration. And it was hot.
You're a
and
water
I did
boy.
that I was a water boy. I did that for 2 weeks when I was 13. And my first real job was Chick-fil-A.
Oh yeah, you're a manager at Chick-fil-A.
No, never a manager.
Oh.
I just worked there for forever.
How long have you been married?
I better get this right? We've been married 15 years, and I know that because we didn't get to take a 15-year anniversary trip because of Corona.
Oh, boo.
I know, so we'll make it up.
You have 5 kids. What are all their names?
Dylan Elise is our oldest, Lucy Jane is our next, Margaret Claire, Evangeline Ruth, and our youngest is Constance Quinn.
Where are you originally from?
I'm from Nashville. I was born at a place called Baptist Hospital, which is now called St. Thomas. And I grew up in Nashville until I was 5. I say Nashville, I grew up in Antioch. Mm-hmm. And then my family moved to Zimbabwe, and then I came back home in the 90s and have lived here ever since.
Right. Yeah, how long were you in Zimbabwe?
About 5 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, this is our first themed episode I'm
Awesome.
excited about. It's called Business and Kingdom. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about $5 Bakery?
$5 Bakery is a delicious donut shop where you should all eat donuts. We make a lot of kinds of donuts, but the kind that we're the most famous for is our 100-layer donut, which is a croissant donut. And it is, well, I say it is. We've had over 400 types, so it is a bit loaded, but they usually are the most delicious, filled, glazed, or frosted treats on earth.
And how many locations are there?
Currently, we have 4 locations in Nashville and 2 locations in Atlanta.
And how long have you been going?
This is our 5th year.
5th year, and there's
5 years, $5.
5 years, $5. Not 5 locations.
No, 6 locations.
6 locations.
Yeah, six-ish locations.
I guess you need to have a 6th baby. Just
I know, that's what we need, so that they can each get one.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, one of my favorite stories is how you started the business, how you started the bakery. So could you just tell people who are watching why the bakery, why donuts, why did you start all this?
So we started all this in 2015, and my wife loves to say, and she's entirely true, that it was a sonship story, kind of from the very beginning. I never baked, I never did anything like that until we got married. And when we got married, I kind of baked out of necessity because we were poor and we needed cakes and cupcakes and things like that. And I learned that I loved doing it. And in 2014, before we started the bakery, we were going through a lot in our marriage. We were going through a lot of things, and we both kind of came to the conclusion that we needed to change. And I assumed that a change just meant a change of job place, but not actual occupation.
What was your job at the time?
I was an accountant, which they
job.
do all right. Yeah. They provide for their families usually. And so I was an accountant, and I thought, okay, I'm going to just apply to companies that are Christian companies that would be a better environment for me and more conducive to our family. And I remember I filled out my first, or I'd written my first letter to a business owner that I knew. I was about to email it off to him. And Stephanie, my wife, walks in the door and she goes, "Hey, what does God say you should do?" And I got super angry. I'm a slow mover. And getting me to that point where I was willing to quit my job of 10 years that I had all this built up in, like, so that I would even do anything different was a big stretch for me. And I remember getting so angry with her, and I was just like, God doesn't care. He just wants me to provide for you. and that was, that was my response. And she was like, okay. She closed the door. She's like, I'm just gonna leave you alone. And I just sat there like staring at the computer, and I threw up a prayer. Like, I wasn't praying, but God was listening. And I just said, God, what do you say I should do? Like, literally parroting her words. And as soon as I said it, I truly felt like I heard God speak to me. It was one of like 2 times in my life that I've like really heard God. And I heard him say that I could bake and I could do music, which were my 2 favorite things to do, but 2 things that I never made the kind of money that you need to make to like have a family. At the time we had 4 kids and we lived in Franklin. It was like, I was like, okay, I think I heard you say bake and do music, but I'm going to go out there and I'm going to tell Stephanie this and she's going to laugh at me. And then I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to send this and stay an accountant. And so I went out of the room and I told Steph, I said, I did pray. Like all spiritual, I did pray. And I feel like I heard God say that I could bake and do music. And as soon as I said that, she just looks at me and she goes, great, let's do that. And it was like this weight like lifted off my shoulders. And I was like, what? We're going to do something that I love to do? Like, God, how's that even going to be? I don't know anything about anything. 2 months later, we'd made like a little businessy idea, and we were gonna do cupcakes, and we were gonna sell them to wedding planners. And I was still at my job, but we were out to dinner with friends on New Year's Eve, and one of the guys at the table goes, "What's God got new for 2015?" And we were like, "Well, Isaac's actually gonna quit his job, and we're gonna do cupcakes for weddings." And there was only us, one other couple, and another couple. And that guy was like, "Yeah, do it." And the other guy at the table was like, "You shouldn't do that." And we were both like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, I've had your cupcakes. They are the best that I've had. I agree, they're delicious, but everybody's got their favorite cupcake already." He's like, "You know what they don't have is an amazing donut. We don't have an amazing donut in Nashville. We don't have gourmet donuts." He was like, "If you could make a gourmet donut," and he was like, more specifically, "if you could make a croissant donut, I think you'd crush it." And I was like, I can do that. I'd never made a donut in my life. I never even thought about making a donut in my life. I was like, I can do that. And so I went home and I researched and I was like, I'm going to try to do this. And I watched like a million videos, which at the time nobody was making croissant donuts. But there are plenty of croissant videos and donut videos. And I prayed and I asked God and I was like, I'm just going to do what I think is right. And whatever you tell me. And our friends who were at the table who were like, "What's new for 2015? We're like, "Hey, when can we come over for donuts? When can we come over for donuts?" Like literally every day. And so by the 8th day of the year, I was like, "Babe, just tell them that they can come this weekend."
Wait, so this was 8 days after you guys just had dinner?
Yeah. I was like, "Just tell them they can come this weekend and I'll make donuts. Like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'll try." And I did, and they were amazing. It was so much fun. Like everything about it brought life to me, like just the whole process and then enjoying eating them and watching people eat them. Like I loved everything about it. And my amazing wife took photos of them and put them on Instagram. And within like an hour, a friend of ours who owns a coffee shop was like calling her going, "Did Isaac make those?" And she was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Can he make them for us?" And we're like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" And so it's a process to make a croissant dough donut. It takes us 4 days, but back then it took 3 days. We're like, "Yeah, like 3 days from now we'll do a dozen donuts for you guys." And so 3 days later we delivered them a dozen donuts, and him and one other guy that worked there ate all of them. And they were like, "Can you make us more?" But and so I brought them these donuts the next day because I was prepping, and they sold out. And it was the first day they'd ever sold out of anything in their shop, which their shop wasn't big yet by any means. But it definitely started something for us. And it's been amazing. I know this is kind of a long story, and it can be even longer. But, God, multiple times along the path, kept meeting us and kept opening the doors for us. When we were like, you know what, God, we got it. He would stop us. He would be like, no, you don't. You don't know what you're doing at all. And as soon as we would just rest and be like, okay, God, like, this is like, obviously you're the one who's like pulling the strings and doing the things. And so we're just going to let you open the doors. As soon as we would say that, he would be like, great, biggest coffee shop in Nashville. Great, like open invitation to actually quit your job with like everything that, like all the money that you make now, like displace 1-to-1.
Wow.
Which was amazing. Like I was able to quit my job. I quit in March, but I gave them leeway to keep me as long as they needed because I'd been there for 10 years and I was the only person in my position. And so they kept me until April 15th. But I mean, I was able to quit and like my family didn't have to like suffer or anything like that. It was amazing.
So much grace on it.
Yeah, it was definitely like from the get-go, God. And we've got story after story of and when in a longer format interview, when we tell the stories to people, they're like, nobody gets that. Nobody gets, free rent. I didn't say we got free rent, but we did get free rent in some places. Like nobody gets that. Nobody gets these locations. Nobody gets this kind of favor. And it's like, nobody does. Like, and it's not because of me. It was because of God. It was because God was showing me his great love for me.
Wow.
I'd suffered some things previous in life and didn't really understand how much God loved me. And as a business owner, that's made it a lot easier for me to manage our business from that same point of view. Every boss I think I ever had before I became my boss, God's my boss, before that held their employees like this. And like, I recognized, in this process that I didn't want to be that type of boss. And so holding everyone who works for us like this and just saying, when God opens a door for you and in your life, like, I want to be here to celebrate you. Even if you're the only person that does the job that you do, like, I'm not going to worry about that because God's provided for me so many times that I know that he'll take care of me. Like, I want to just champion you. And so that creates a culture within the culture of the Five Daughters bakery businesses that allows people to feel more free.
So like, how would you describe the impact that it's had on your relationship with him?
So the impact that it's had on me and my relationship with the Lord, I don't want to say, I mean, I've been a Christian my whole life. Like I was a 6th generation pastor's son. And I did get, baptized when I was 5 and then felt convicted when I was like 12 and got rededicated and probably gave my life to the Lord multiple times as a teenager because of all the sin that I felt so ashamed about. But at the same time, like, I feel like I've known the Lord my whole life or known of the Lord my whole life. And even went through a period where Stephanie and I were youth pastors. It's kind of like, I don't know, like it's kind of like discovering that the house that you live in has like an upstairs after living there for like forever. And you're like, oh, there's more. And I kind of reached this place in my adult life with the Lord where I kind of thought like, I know that like God's going to have surprises for me when I go to heaven, but like, this is who God is. And when the bakery happened and this business happened this way, and God taught me the lessons that he's taught through just like his divine grace and through humility and through the trials and all of it. But as all that's happened, I've learned that there was a whole different dimension to my relationship with God that I didn't really understand. Like I knew it was there. It's like, you're God's son. Sure. Duh. But no, like you're God's son, was a totally different thing. And I don't know if that can be taught. Maybe it can be taught, but really like I'd been trying to be taught that for a long time, but until I experienced it, it wasn't real. It wasn't like really real for me. And so it definitely took my relationship with the Lord to the next level, to be so cliche. Whereas before I was like, God is like my earthly father, you know, who's like pleased and loves me and proud of me, but also I should do these things for him, you know. And like through this all, it was like, God is even better than my earthly father. And I have a great earthly father, but like he's even better. Like he really knows me better than I know me, and trusting him is the best choice that I can make.
So now you kind of just get to be home and you get to be with your family as well as run a business.
I get to do a lot more things. I have a lot more freedom. When I think back to when I worked a 9-to-5 job in Nashville, which means you're actually leaving your house at 8 and getting home at 6 or 6:30. When I think back to those times, like I'm just so thankful now, because it's true. I can watch my daughter like be at her first horse lesson or all of her horse lessons, and I can decide what flavors of donuts I want to eat, and I can help my wife and be a part of the things. And I mean that for me in many ways is more of a personal choice as opposed to like what's best for the business, you know, in a sense. I think that a lot of business owners allow themselves to get very wrapped up in their business. And so owning a business is actually more destructive in their personal life than productive. And so, you know, I think that because I witnessed that a few times in my life, it's given me a lot of, It's given me a lot of perspective so that I can create the proper boundaries and always try to err on the side of family over business, people over money, you know? And that's one of the things that we said very early on. We always said people over donuts, and we still say that, people over donuts, because in the beginning of times, we weren't great at making donuts. We were decent at it, but we weren't great at it. And we would sell out. We would sell out at like 11 in the morning. And we'd be like, I'm sorry, but we all worked all night and all day, and this is all we could make. And our customers would love us, but also be really angry, like really angry. And there was a lot of pressure on us to try to make more. Like, make more. Why can't you make more? Why can't you hire more? Why can't you like make more money? And tempering that and allowing God to like walk us through that, but with the understanding from the very beginning to this moment in time that people matter more than donuts, has allowed us to keep good relationships with a lot of people who've worked with us. You know, not everybody, but most people feel loved like when they work with us, and I hope that they do. You know, and also like it's kept me from allowing like a place of greed or power or influence to sort of take over, because, you know, let's be honest, like if you're kind of at the top of the game, which in Nashville we are, and honestly nationally we're pretty close to the top of the game, like there's a strong like, well, how do you get to the very top? And a lot of people wreck their lives to get to the very top, and Stephanie and I would rather just walk with the Lord and just trust that every door that he's opening, and every door he's closing, and he knows us better than we know ourselves. And so, you know, as a business, that's what we strive for, and as a family.
So how would you encourage people who are either, you know, business owners or they're very involved in their job to balance that work and family life well?
Sure. We, before we were business owners, we were youth pastors, and we were heavily influenced by a teacher named Andy Stanley, who you may have talked about, or you may be going to talk about.
I haven't yet.
Haven't yet.
But I love him.
He comes up a lot because he has a lot of wisdom. He's a pastor in Atlanta, and he does a podcast. He does a few podcasts, but he does a podcast on leadership. And one of the early podcasts that we heard was about training up leaders underneath you and, you know, kind of working yourself into your job. like you start by carrying lots of jobs. The analogy that I always remember that he gave was, if this is the organization and there's 100 jobs, but there's only 10 employees, well, every employee's probably got 10 jobs. And he's like, you want to let go of the things that you're not good at. And we took that in youth ministry and used that. And we honestly just picked up right where we left off when we started the bakery. When we started, like, it wasn't like this. Like, I worked really hard. For the first year, I never slept more than 3 hours at a time because I was working. Stephanie was working with me. The kids even helped out and worked. Like, we worked really hard, and it was very fulfilling. But at the same time, the whole time, we knew that we were building and giving things away to people as we built. And I don't remember when the exact transition came. I think for us, it was in roughly year 3 when I realized I didn't make any of those donuts. And I was like, whoa, like our donuts are a 4-day process. So there's like multiple steps and stages. And it was like, I didn't do any of that, but I kind of did it all because I trained up these people. And I think a lot of business owners get stuck carrying too many of the jobs. And part of that is a fear that the job's not going to be done as well as they did it, which is a very real thing. I would feel that. I'd be like, I care about these donuts way more than these people care about these donuts. And that's one of the things that as you let go, you realize is true and you can fix it.
Right.
Like, not only do they not care about them as much as me, they're actually able to do them better than me because they can be trained to do them better and have better skills because they're focused on this one job as opposed to me focused on these 9 other jobs.
Right.
After Church fam, what's good? My name is Josh Carter, aka Sonny Rhodes, 30 years old, and whenever I'm not working my day job as a dock worker, I'm a music producer. I play keys and drums at my church, Hope City, and I'm also one half of the music group She Bear. Now, you may not know my face, may not know my music, but you definitely know my voice.
From her living room in Nashville, Tennessee, this Ghetto Home Studio production presents After Church with Tink McLeod.
So yeah, I'm the voiceover you hear at the top of every episode of After Church. And I also produce the theme song for After Church, as well as 2 other jingles that you hear from time to time throughout each episode. So Tink and I's friendship goes all the way back to 2001 to the 6th grade. We were in middle school band together, high school band together. We both played percussion and we're just the closest of friends ever since then. So why do I do what I do? I come from generations of preachers and musicians, so I was bound to get one of the 2, and music was the one that kind of fell in my lap, and I love it, man. Like I can't believe God chose me to have this gift, so I feel like it's my responsibility to give it back to Him by being effective with it, whether it's pop music or whether it's Christian music or what have you. I grew up singing in the church choir. My mom was the MD. That eventually turned into rap, and that eventually turned into wanting to be a music producer. But the music producer thing is what really stuck out to me, and I can date that back to about the year 2000. There was a production duo that was red hot in music at the time called the Neptunes. The Neptunes was Chad Hugo and Pharrell Williams, and just what they were able to do with sound and drums, like I was just captivated. Like I couldn't believe music could sound like that. I've never heard anything like that before. So I've been chasing that feeling, chasing that vibe, even still to this day in my music. So it's so cool that I get to do this, man. I'm truly grateful.
Don't worry about tomorrow. It has enough worries itself. It's a pain behind those eyes? Did you forget to help yourself? Don't you see those trees, people down on their knees? We all need the sun. When you forget how much you're loved, you can listen to this song, be reminded you're the one, yeah. That you're the only one for me. So listen, I've been dancing on the edge of this moment. I can't remember what it feels like to fall. I've been itching ever closer and closer, and I just can't help myself. Move your body, feel the energy, as you move your feet. Got a feeling you wanna move, so move your body in 1, 2, 3, huh. Hey. You've had a long week, where got you been? Now let me sweep you off your feet, and let's get that body moving, yeah. I've been dancing on the edge of this moment. I can't remember what it feels like to fall. I've been itching ever closer and closer, and oh yeah, I've been dancing on the edge of this moment. I can't remember what it feels like to fall. I've been itching ever closer and closer, and you know, I just can't help myself. Hey. So move your body, feel the energy. Move your body, feel the energy, yeah. And move those feet. Oh. Hey, hey. I've been dancing on the edge of this moment. I can't remember what it feels like to fall. I've been itching ever closer and closer, you know, you know.
If you were talking to someone that had a dream in their heart, or is feeling like there has to be something different, or there needs to be a transition in my life, I'm working a corporate job, I don't know, maybe someone's just feeling like, I would love to start my own business. How would you encourage them if they were in that position?
Oftentimes people do ask us, like, how'd you do that? And I want to do what you did. And the answer to all that is not an answer most people like to hear. Most people love to hear, like, it's this and this and it's so easy and then you're gonna be so happy. And the truth is that for us, the journey to where we are now has been a 15-year journey. Like, I worked as an accountant for 10 years and God was using that time to teach me how to run a business. Like, I didn't know it at the time. I had no idea that I was gonna run a business or even my business, but like, that was what was happening. And another like interesting / crazy thing was, I remember going to all of Stephanie's ultrasounds. I mean, they were our ultrasounds too. And at each one, Like when she found out that we weren't having a boy, she'd cry. And it's because she like desperately wanted this boy, and God had other plans. And I mean, at this stage, like she's super happy with all the girls that we've had. But I think there was sort of like this cultural, like she just really wanted to provide a son. And, you know, God had other plans. And through all that, we were able to have 5 Daughters Bakery. But also, like, I was able to step into this business with such a good understanding of how you run a business. Yeah. And so for anyone who's coming to me, you know, asking for advice, my more or less immediate response is always going to be, whatever you're doing right now, do it well. Do it excellently. Don't be looking for escapes. Don't be looking for like the way out. What you need to look for is for God to open doors for you. If you love something and you want to do it, and you believe that God's created you to do that, guess what? He's the one who's going to open that door. Yeah. He did for me. It literally took me learning that I liked baking when I was like, you know, I don't know, 27 until I was 36 before I got my own bakery. Like it was almost 10 years apart from each other. And so like if you found out that you love, you know, making music, or you love making art, or I mean those are great. Let's pretend like you love like building bridges. Like whatever you love, making knives. There's so many things that people do and that they love. Like God will open the door for you, but you have to keep your eyes open for that. There's sort of 2 sides. There's a camp that goes, I'm not going to wait for God to open the door. I'm going to find this door. And you know, I've just seen it too many times to say that that's like godly. Like too many times I've seen people like burn out trying to like do what they love, and God's just not there. And you know what? God's there. He's watching. Like he loves that you love it, but you need to let him open your doors for you. Like, cause he will at the right time. The other camp is the camp that like loves something, and God opens the door for them, and they're too scared to go through those doors. And I don't know exactly how to encourage that type of person, other than to just say like, you can trust God. Like you really can. Like I've in my life over and over, it's been like, well, I'll do this, and I'm scared to do this, and I think I'm gonna get this in return. And God will go, great, and I do it, and I get that in return instead. Yeah. You know, it's like what he's got on the other side of an open door for you is way more than you expect, in a great way. And it's just having the courage to walk through it with him. And so I've seen both things. If you have a passion in your heart for something that you love, I believe that God will open the doors for you. I really do. I believe that with all my heart, because I own a donut shop, which is amazing. But at the same time, whatever you're doing right now, do it well. Do it excellently, because you have no idea how it's going to feed in, but I promise you it will feed in to your life. And so that's my advice.
It's so good. How do you know if you're in either side? So if you are in a season where you need to do what you're doing excellently, or if you're too afraid to walk through a door?
Well, so I was sort of referring to 2 personality types. And it'd probably be a great idea to ask somebody who is in authority over you, or at least that you feel some sort of, you know, pastoral connection to, and just say, what type of person do you think I am? Because it's pretty rare for someone to be doing what they do excellently. Well, it's not pretty rare, but it's usually 2 different personality types of people that encounter that. Having said that, whatever you're doing, do it excellently. I mean, the Bible tells us that. Like this is not new news. This is like regular news. I think it gets really watered down in our culture because it feels like most of the jobs that we have these days like don't actually matter. It's like, oh, I just need to be able to do XYZ. Like I just need to be able to like play worship on the stage with the team, and then they'll know that like that's who I am. And that's how I'll make my money. Don't. Like, stop. Like, God will open that door. And when he does, that type of person will be ready. Do the job that you have right now really well. Because then, I mean, depending on what it is, let's pretend you work for me at my donut shop. Like, you'll be connected with a great group of people, and you'll have learned about the responsibilities that you should be carrying into this role. You'll have learned about the leadership that is required. Leadership is the same whether you're, it is more or less the same, whether you're leading at a church, leading in a business, leading on a playground. Like, it's leadership. Leadership is leadership.
Leading at a knife shop.
At a knife shop, at a tent convention. I'm into camping these days. So, but anyway, leadership's the same. But yeah, ask somebody who's a mentor in your life, like, hey, like, do you think I'm maybe sloughing off on what I'm doing at my job and not giving it my all because I feel like I should be doing something else? And if they say yes, then be convicted, change. If they say no, then go to the follow-up question. Do you think if God opened up a door for me, do you think I'd be scared to walk through it? Yeah. Because the chances are, chances are you might. And so I do know that for me personally, I was scared to death to do this business, and my wife was not. And if it hadn't been for her, we wouldn't be here. And so I'm so thankful for that relationship that took me to here. Like, if I had been a single dude, that would be weird. But if I had been a single dude opening a $5 bakery, but if I had been a single dude, there's no chance on earth that this would have happened. Like, it was because of that relationship that God was able to bring both of us to this place. Yeah. And so, lean on those people around you.
So good. Okay, last question.
Sure.
So, a lot of people talk about, marketplace ministry or making your business your ministry. Is that how you would see the bakery, or like how do you do this kingdom and business?
I'm going to totally riff here.
Do it.
I don't believe in marketplace ministry at all.
Shoot it.
I think that it is a load of hooey. Like, either you live your life like authentically and you minister to people, or you don't. Whatever ministry you think you have, like, it's everywhere. It's not in a church. It's not in your business. It's not any one place or any 5 places. It's actually everywhere. And I think that people, the other thing I'm going to riff on is I think that people overinflate their self-importance. Like, I think that, like, God's the one who actually usually talks to people. Even when Jesus was speaking, he was recognizing that most of what he was saying was actually going to 12 dudes, even if there were 5,000 people there. It was actually for these 12 dudes. Now, he knew, because he had perspective, that would grow. Like, he understood, like, seed sowed, but, like, he wasn't trying to, like, get these massive crowds. Like, his favorite moments were the moments with him and his disciples. Yeah. Or him and this woman at the well, just the 2 of them. Like, those were his favorite moments because he understood that those were the moments that actually produced the fruit that would change the world. Yeah. And I think that our culture is so backwards on that. In our culture, it's like, how many followers can you get? How big can your church be? Or how big can your concert be? Or how many customers can you have? Or, anything big, like, how many can you get? What is so phony about that is that the bigger that it gets, the less, like, it's actually real and changing somebody. Like, you can lose it all just like that. And then what do you have? Yeah. You have what you sowed into your family, right. What you sowed into your really close friends. And so marketplace ministry, while I do agree with, like, your business should match your, like, personal ethics, great. Like, that shouldn't be called marketplace ministry. That's just life, And, like, your ministry is to the people who are close to you. Yeah. And to the people that you can get close to and impact, whether it's in just one moment, like whether you are meeting someone who's homeless and just, like, having an impactful moment with them, or it's your wife or your spouse is probably the easier way to say that. Not all of you have
Everyone has a wife.
Everyone's wife. Go talk to your wife. She'll tell you what to do. And
so what does that look like for you? Like, what would...
But for me, like, well, multiple things. One, it's true. Our business does reflect, like, our values. Like, nothing is sweeter than family is our slogan. And family matters the most in our business. At the same time, like, for me, unlike too many business people that I've seen, I try to make a conscious effort to every day speak into the lives of my children and speak into my wife. You know, like they're what matters the most. They're the ones who I get to have the greatest impact on, not the amount of people who buy donuts from me. Some of those people are going to love me. Some of those people are not going to love me. Some of those people are not going to even care.
Right.
And so, but my kids care. My wife cares.
Right. And at the end of the day, that's what we have.
Matters. That's what we have. Yeah.
That's
Seed
so
son.
good.
Yeah.
Come on. Thank you so much, Isaac.
Sure.
This was like I'm still reeling from everything. So I know that I received a lot, and so I hope that everyone that is watching would feel encouraged and check out the bakery and
come get a donut.
Come get a donut
or just come to Nashville.
Yeah, come
or
to
Atlanta.
Nashville. Or Atlanta. But thank you so much for sharing the story and sharing the wisdom and just the whole process for you guys.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
Yeah. This is awesome. Bye.
Oh, hello. Tink, thank you so much for having me on After Church. I'm so excited to be here. I love what you're doing. I love the fun that this brings to Christianity. I think that it's so different and cool, and I'm into it. I'm a huge fan. And I love that one day I will be able to say, when this blows up, that I was an OG guest. I am Amy. I have an 11-year-old son who is just the sunshine of my life. I go to a church called Stairway, which is where I met you guys. I own a business called Revival Republic. It is an online vintage homewares and clothing store. I started it because it was the 2nd of January 2019, and I was working at this beautiful bohemian store, and I liked that job. It was fine, but I remember I opened the doors to the store and I was pulling some clothing racks out the front, and I remember just saying to the Lord, I'm not satisfied here. What is the next thing? What do you want me to do? Because I'm not satisfied here. And it was like this lightning bolt moment, and I know it sounds so cliche, but it really was. It was such a profound moment, and I'll never forget it. And he gave me this idea to start this business, and the name even came a couple of days later. The outworking of that has been, discovering a lot about fast fashion, and I just wanted to create a new way for people to shop. Fast fashion is such a hole that we've gotten ourselves into with humanity. It's this need to consume, and the price that people are paying for it and the planet is paying for it is quite profound. Having a small business like this, it's really exciting because it's forcing the hand of some of these bigger companies to make changes and make big changes within the way that they run their factories and the way that they treat their employees, and having a safe work environment, and also, having a less of an impact on the planet. And so one of the reasons that I love thrifting and antiquing is because raising Mace on my own, I had to be super resourceful in the way that I provided for us. And I would walk through these antique stores and these thrifting places, and I am so in love with things that spark this nostalgic feeling. It's this feeling that I'm always trying to chase. I don't know what it is about it. I love it. At the start of each collection, I tell it with a story. It's usually a poem or a piece of artwork, and I feel like he's so with me in those moments, and he just sparks something, and then I say yes, and then the outward, like the way that it just unfolds is absolutely amazing. Sometimes I feel like I've got nothing in the creativity tank, and so I'll be like, Lord, I need you to spark something today. And I cannot tell you how many times he's come through. He always comes through. And I'm just, it's absolutely amazing. This whole process has revealed this whole new aspect of the Lord. I'm forever changed because of it. That's me. Thanks so much for having me. Mwah.
Alright everyone, well I hope that you enjoyed tonight's episode. We hope to do more themed episodes in the future, and if you have any ideas, please feel free to send them in. Have an amazing week, and we'll see you next time.